Okay, very good. Well, since I might as well. So anyway, welcome this is the first of a weekly series of readings of the articles by Norina Machabelli published in the Mayor Baba Journals, which Baba referred to as being in the mystical language, the intuitive voice, where Norina was connecting with the impersonal God and writing these articles. And the history of the articles was in the fall of 1938, Baba asked Norina and Elizabeth to restart a journal that had lapsed for a number of years. And that they agreed to do it, but they said, Baba, unless you agree to contribute an article to the journal, who's going to read it? So Baba agreed. And the first issue came out in November of 38, and it had the first of Baba's discourses. They were all first published in the Mayor Baba journals. And the first discourse was Avatar. And in that article, among other things, Baba refers to this being the springtide of creation, where there be a new influx of energy, power, knowledge. That's a paraphrase. But not just for the few, but for all. And he closes the paragraph by saying that as the age of sensation gave rise to the age of reason, we are now moving from the age of reason to the age of intuition. Not that we leave one at the exclusion of the other. We are a combination of sensation, reason, and now the intuition is going to play a major role. And with that paragraph, Baba, to me, is introducing the role Norina is going to play in the Mayor Baba journals through these articles, which Baba said she had cultivated all her life an inner voice, which she felt to be God's voice. Rosalie will talk in a minute about that. But the point was, it was an intuitive connection with the impersonal God that she was the platform that she was writing from. And Baba described that voice as the mystical language. And so I'll let Rosalie talk a little bit about Norina's background.
Well, what I could speak of is my background with coming onto these messages. What I wanted to say is the first thing that Norina met, she met Meher Baba physically November 8th of 1931 in Harmon on Hudson. And I think it was Jean Adriel. Jean Adriel was there with Malcolm Schloss, and Jean Adriel noticed that this very assured, self-composed person that Norina was looked a little confounded before meeting Baba. And anyway, she went in to meet Baba, and she totally realized who he was. She totally took him to be the Christ. And she was really sobbing uncontrollably. And after meeting him, she was, I think Jean Adriel let her stay in her bedroom, where Baba will come every hour as in between meeting other people to, get her to a point of stability again. Following this meeting, Norina wrote a very, I would say, impassioned letter to Meher Baba. And she said, there is this voice that I've heard. I hear this voice, is it you? Are you the same as the voice? And Meher Baba answered in writing, yes, it is, that voice is me. I don't want you to share with anybody yet about this voice. So that was 1931, and it wasn't till the blue bus time, or just before the blue bus time, that he asked her to share. And in this Meher Baba journals. So he asked her and Elizabeth to start this journal up again. And my experience of them, it was very kind of deep from the very start. I just felt so drawn and so, it brought me kind of a peaceful state when I'd read these things. Now, I had read in, I had actually read her diary, fragments of a spiritual diary, and I was just deeply moved by that diary. And then also the 40 messages I felt were really a hand guide for how to live your life. So anyway, that stretches a lot of years back for me, but then comes this blue bus time, and I hear that someone's up in Nashville is sharing these. I feel it was this, I thought it was the same thing that I have been sharing for a long time, but Scott McCaig was sharing the articles that came through Norina during the Blue Bus tour. So I was involved in the first meeting. It's kind of the anniversary now because it was 2019. It was Christmas Eve. It was the night before Baba's birthday. And so we had the first sharing. Scott McCaig came down, and he was hosted here by Cheryl Garnant, and he began starting to read these mystical messages. And there were a group of us, maybe like almost a dozen people, and I didn't know about these, and yet I listened, and then when the reading was over, there was some talk someone wanted to discuss, and I just remember very strongly coming out of my mouth, I don't want to discuss this. And I felt, but if the others wanted to discuss, I felt I would, since these messages were already in written form and accessible, I would just go my own way with these. So, but the group agreed with me that we wouldn't discuss. So, we've been reading these, listening to these, reading with reverence. Baba only requires them to be read with reverence. And I revere them because as coming right from Baba, or the impersonal God. So that's I feel the importance of her background. She wrote Baba this impassioned letter and says, was it you speaking with me all this time? Is it you? And he says, yes, but wait, it's not the time to share. Don't share with anybody. So in the Blue Bus time, she started sharing, and Jonathan will start with a couple of the first ones that she shared. I think they were printed in November of 38. So time to share. But I would say they have intuitive content. Baba did tell Adi Kearani, his secretary, that he took us from sensation to reason. Reason was the perfection of sensation, and now reason will be perfected by intuition. That's our big jump that Baba's taking us to, and it is a grand jump. So Jonathan's going to start sharing one. Jai Baba.
You can put your chair up here too. And thanks, Rosalie. So that whole thing about the intuition versus the reasoning is, we just wanted to introduce that when we talk about these meetings, beginning with a discussion, it's not going to be, it's a discussion where we're talking about our experience, what we're feeling about something or whatever, rather than getting into kind of a back and forth discussion, which kind of takes us into the head. Because the whole purpose of these readings, we feel, is not only to read something of this unique relationship Norina had with the impersonal God through intuition, and began speaking in her own voice, in the voice of Mayor Baba. But it exemplifies that experience. And Baba talks about that in terms of, there's only one eye, and that's God's eye. But our mind, our intellect, creates this division where we're Rosalie and Jonathan and Clay and Diane and everyone. And that is where the problem comes in. And to the degree that we can surrender that division that's created by our mind, we can experience oneness with God ultimately. And he talks about all one I, all one I life, all one I use. So many things, but it's an internal experience. So when we have this discussion, it's going to be more, we'd like to have it more be of experience rather than analysis, if that's the right word. And I would like to, I have one other document that, oh no, I can get it this way.
I want to say this one thing, that Scott McKay happened to go to Kitty Davy because he's had these May Rubber journals a long time. Adi gave him a big stack of them in the early 70s, right after Baba dropped his body. He says, see what you could do with these. And they're Kitty answered. Scott says, what was this like when, Norina was saying Baba was speaking to her? And he says, she says, we were complaining. The language was funny. We wanted to change the wording. And Baba said to Kitty, don't change one word. You are children. Now, that I guess she wasn't the only Mandalier that was complaining. You are children. This is for the future. They will need this. So I take it as we learn our language, and we learn our language before we're walking almost. And the thing is, we're very attached to it. And this is like not necessarily your language or your English language is the way you would speak it. So my idea and what I do, I just take a mental vacation, because a lot of my mental experience in life has brought me to worry, which is the real downside of reasoning. Anyway, that's my opinion and my way that I go.
Along those lines, there's in one of the articles, it's a later article. The article is called From My Notes. And this distinction about language, the English language in the age of reason, it's the language of reasoning and logic. When we understand things, we feel more comfortable and secure. But in these mystical language, Baba is using English, but he's using it in a different way. And it forces us to let go of the intellect. And then that leaves us an opening for the intuition to develop. And what he stresses here, I'm going to just read it. This is from my notes. He said, when I say this, it is that I have to make it clear and very simple language to all who will read this. What I have been saying in the unfathomable mystical language till now through you is more or less the same as meaning. The unfathomable mystical language has this advantage over the intellectual philosophical way of speaking, that it is straight from the supreme source from where it is creative, unrealized, pure expansion of conscious existence. It has the advantage of deep, unself-reactive, real order within in being. Apparently, it is unfathomable and unintelligible, but it is far more than intelligence realization. It is pure being realization. Whatever is the meaning, in its radiation of its pure source of existence. No one needs to understand my mystical language, but everyone must read it with reverence. So I wanted to read that because he refers to up until now the mystical language. So these early articles have a lot of narration of travels that they make with Baba, but he begins introducing terms, and there's the rhythm of the language is different, and so it's a gradual. That's why I wanted to begin at the beginning. And the first article, there's a short biography of Norina in the first issue, and then there's the article that's called Shri Baba. And I wanted to pull. You need to have it up on the screen. Let's see. Ferris Day.
You don't need to have it on.
Yeah, just go to participants, Jonathan, and
Participants.
make me a host.
Okay, and then on you, I click on you.
Yeah, click on me and make host.
Oh, and that says more. Make co-host. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you're co-host.
All right.
So, so that means, so how do I get you on the, okay, that's great. Okay, so do you want me to start or you want to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. So this article is entitled Shri Baba, and it does give a good overview. It's in many parts. We're going to read the first two parts of this article that were printed in the first two issues. Shri Baba by Princess Norina Machbeli. It is the end of a cycle in evolution. We know that the spiritual awakening of the world gives new evidence in exchange of consciousness. The urge in mankind to see and find truth is deep and creative. The new intuition in man to know and find God within is pure. The time in its divine outward phase is sure in pain, pure in lure to move out of darkness. We need to rely on the alive, performing example of God. We can no more be sure with the deluding, impersonal experience within. We can no more rely on secondhand information. We have no further proof than our own self-deluding experiences of the mind. We have no further individual ambition in our own human than to be I, and to magnify the I for the I's sake. We have exhausted ourselves in love emotion, and our love's motive in barren, cold, unsatisfied. Our love's motive is barren, cold, unsatisfied. The need in man to love more unselfishly is imperative. We are stranded by established theological dogmas, looking backwards on past gods. Man is jealous in competition of the saviors of others. They create churches and religions to exploit individual devotion. Man's spiritual impulse has become sterile, blinded and beaten by the outward sensationalism of life and the mental creative tendencies to exaggerate. Man has lost the vision of simplicity of the heart. We need to realize the truth. We need to see impersonal devotion. We need to feel sincere kindness. We need to realize virtue without self-satisfaction.
We want to see true charity, which is given in full conscious accordance with the knowing heart. We need to see pure sacrifice which redeems. We have to learn how to render love for hate. We have to recognize the law's supreme pure work through the opposites. We have to recognize the mind's stagnant views of false and good. We want the free interpretation of good. The wonders of divine love have been brought down to us through the Gospels. But again and again, mankind longs for the tangible example of that divine impulse of joy, like Krishna with his benign wonders of mercy, forgiveness, tolerance, and the selflessness of Jesus. The reincarnation of the love master of all time is alive amongst us. He is gradually unfolding in the immature heart of man, the divine immutable grace of love. Near him, we, who come from all parts of the world, meet on the only unprejudiced ground, the merciful heart of the beloved. This universal heart that expresses its divine existence through the vehicle of the unselfish, perfect human we need to worship. Shri Meher Baba professes and practices today in eloquent silence the awakening of the consciousness of the heart. The indivisible bond in man will be aware in being. The new design in being is to unite in the one only God. Men of all castes, and all religions will see the manifesting only God in the new conscious form in being. The next one.
It is the new life in external perpetual opposition that in being in I, conscious, indivisible in Him, who is our own very being, has come to the pure point of new awareness. The new form in conscious order in man, he, as the pure power, is stirring, awakening. He creates the opposing order when men in themselves become indifferent and satiated with life inert within. We become, under his guidance, the alive being in constant adjustment. The indispensable strife in life he can accentuate if need be. He can arouse the divine theme in any individual. Our mind, that busy factory of habit, thoughts, misery, illusionary schemes of material happiness, making us feel separate creatures with separate lives, with separate goals, with expectation of reward for our good or bad deeds. These he will transmute in new conscious order, in idea, and make man see and know and feel. In the self-ordering state, in new awareness of truth within, men will feel equal. Men will have confidence in each other. He will bring to fulfillment the human being who will create better living conditions in the world. A joyful pilgrimage towards God is life in action for him. No one but he, the perfect one, can assure in us the old faith, which is infallible wisdom. God, in his abstract state of Om, will remain mental illusion until one like him gives us the experience of God as the living reality. When the personal, impersonal God appears, it is the tangible sign for man to make good. That time is on. It is now. We need to be in readiness to react for the pure exchange. When Shri Meher Baba took upon himself the supreme human self-imposed sacrifice of silence that until now has lasted over 13 years, he did it to serve the divine plan, to benefit mankind.
Operating within, he fulfills the one way towards union, which we, by the use of mind, by finite dual thinking order, too easily counteract. Being in us life, truth in being order, he can within readjust the pearls, aim, and that is the straight one way to God. His instrument to operate with is life itself, life positive and negative, as the opposites that we call unconditional form in strife, to evolve into the one all state that is pure. He, designing into our intuition, does the new stir. The truth in its one all-fulfilling plan achieves the exchange in consciousness. Traveling in foreign lands and walking through cities which have no other importance than to be the accumulation of the masses, driven in self-experience by the illusion-making mind. He, the unfathomable all-fate, causes the inevitable evolution. Moving about like any ordinary human being, he uses motor cars, trains, airways. He lives in small huts, in luxurious abodes. He communes with the rich and with the poor. He uses the crude energy of the masses, and he searches out of the individual the more subtle contribution. The expansion of human qualities, jealousy, hate, anger, lust, are the impure work in our spiritual soul. Vice and deprivation are the manure he uses to fertilize the spiritual show in advancement. He removes fear through the awakening life in being that in itself is a state of fearless, pure existence, wherein one experiences security, safety, hope. He awakens in us the optimism that results from this knowing experience. We realize that we are part in him in being, which is divine. He forms in us a life of hope that in us is divine humor. We can, in the state of divine being in I, conscious, see, feel, and know the truth in full order in being, and that is to see life pure, good, unconditional in its onward hope to readjust in all the truth. We react in him alive, sure, simple, and natural. He, the pure love being, in love with life, in love with all and any show in the human creature, designs into life the truth as the form in which we know to want to become, the form in which we result free, liberated human.
We then have the winning will to overcome the show of the old pessimist, who, as he humorously says, makes the worst of the best. We shall become true optimists and true idealists. The optimist makes the best of the worst, and the idealist that makes the best of the best. In the new state in consciousness, we make good, feel good, and see good in all in life as it is. The new awakening in man will bring the fruit of hard labor, hard struggle, long-lived longing, long-lived immune-making work in the dual human. Love divine will make the miracle. Shri Baba is poor. He is impersonal in the use of gold and silver. We supposed to give love while we perform the charitable gesture, and the material gift has to serve merely as a symbol. The fact of giving becomes impersonal when we begin to be unattached to the object that we have cherished as possession. We then realize the difference between giving for sharing and giving for self-satisfaction. It is the same in the work within. We learn to detach ourselves from the act and being when we, in our own selves, we awaken to profess love as life, and in the external act are unselfish. We learn to exchange the personal use of our individual experience with the divine order and being that is unconditional in selfless use of its reactions and expresses external life unattached to any result, to any self-satisfaction. Do no more than you can feel, says Shri Baba. By premeditated giving, you give parts of yourself, and by feeling in giving, you give your divine self. He awakens in us the divine wisdom of the heart. No one can do the ultimate good until he has realized the good within. We exchange free and light life impersonal with life personal, the lower mental intuition with our being intuition. We are determined not to resist to the changing work that he in us stirs, adjusts, and forms to new life. May he reveal himself to the most humble form in consciousness and hide before the most creative, erudite intellectuals. Blessed are the pure in mind, to them God will reveal in being the meaning of this. Oh, sorry. The meaning of this thought is pure, wise use in us.
Pure thinking is that state of stillness of the mind. It is non-reaction in I, individual. Stilled in mind, freed from experience, we become conscious of the expansion of pure love, of the pure living exode that is fusion in light winning rhythm of pure indivisible joy. We live life as a child. We then have the blessed state to be pure in mind, rich in heart. It is like playing in being, playing in life with illusion, as a child whose life is an unbroken dream state, whose life is pure exode in breathing, fulfilling unconsciously the unconditional expansion in consciousness without resistance. Baba makes us become humble. He does the act of joining in us life as the individual form in external existence with the inner life in being, that in its fulfilling order and awakening works out in us God. He joins God and human life, life individual with life immutable. He liberates us from the ordeal of life in ourselves, that in us is dual experience. He merges the opposites into the one all form, and that is love that gives and never demands. We can in no way see above the line of our finite mind. He will lift the veil of ignorance and help us to see the face of God. The veil is the ego. His love does the pure clearing work of the elimination of the ego. We, in our own being, in exchange in consciousness, react in pure winning will to our own qualities. These to us in life, in finite existence, seem crude, harsh, and give pain, and are the cause of our individual misery. They constitute in our own life the problem of individual reaction in experience. We know that life can in no way be seen as truth order, as long as man has to react in finite mind in experience. Man is bound to react to the low order in experience of lust, jealousy, anger, greed, avarice. Resigned in him, the redeeming pure form. These low experiences of life finite transmute into pure energy and become the impetus of divine life indivisible. It becomes truth action in pure winning will, love in being, joy in being. It becomes the divine action as the unfathomable longing for union with the beloved. He, in his work indivisible, realizes in us life indivisible.
He transforms, redeems, resurrects. Awakening in I conscious, we become fearless and doubtless. We are freed from prejudices, free from divisionary ideas. When man resigns in him, man will realize liberation. His alive breath is our own life in exchange in life and death. As human being, he reflects our life in joy and pain. His pure ordering in suffering is our own life in him, suffering expiation. His grace performs the work of redemption. Within the realm of pure expansion and divine existence, he is painless, calm, pure bliss. He is like Jesus. He never sleeps. His sleep is indivisible intuition work, indivisible love expansion, uninterrupted conscious action. He loves within, without, above, beyond all and everything, all-knowing, immutable. With his head he feels, with his heart he devises. He says, I do not think, I feel. Shri Baba works, still, silent, knowing from working field to working field, from type to type, from nation to nation. His head includes God, universe, and every individual and being. He will awaken in us the pure need to want to be like him. Hey, Baba.
I wanted to say, these all came through in the blue bus tours around India, and Baba would sign off on each one, that because one would always be from Norina in this. It makes me think of that Baba said that something would happen that's coming that has never happened before. And for one thing, a blue bus where women were squeezed together touring India with the Avatar. I don't think that's happened before. Or also speaking through a woman in this highway is certainly something new. But I welcome it, and actually these have already been in print since they were printed between 1938 and 1941 December. So it's like a treasure that's just been laying there. And seeing as Baba says we would need these in the future, I think it's getting to be future time. For me, it's future time.
So, does anybody have anything that they would like to share?
Just thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Norman, for coming. We'll let it rest, but we appreciate this is, we'd appreciate feedback, because we can modify the format or do whatever. And, but we really, a number of us that are here, it's an important part of Baba's knowledge that hasn't been fully tapped, and we'd like to facilitate that.
I'll give some feedback. I tell you, it's not easy Zooming. Getting this.
But it's
Y'all
interesting.
are doing a good job, though.
The Zooming turned out to be the best vehicle today,
It's
possibly
the best
because of the
vehicle.
weather. But,
Yeah, if you know how to drive your car, it's a car that can help you.
so
But anyway, it was an experience. Just like these readings are experiential. They're not like these floating words floating over. No. They're sowing. They're sowing, S-O-W.
Yeah, thank you very much to both of you for doing a lovely reading and for bringing out to a wider group than our little core group that's sort of stuck with Scott for the last many years, because these messages are so deep, so immediate, as Rosalie is saying, they're experiential. And to me, as I've said before, especially the readings from Mayor Baba, I mean, I think this is wonderful to share what we heard today via directly Norina as Norina. But when Baba's Expressing directly through Norina, that is sort of called Baba as opposed to Norina, there's an inner presence. I feel like Baba's offering to us a direct explanation of what he came in this Advent at the end of a cycle of cycles to do, and that the more I hear, the longer I'm been exposed to this, the deeper and more beautifully significant, profound, I mean, way beyond any words I can come up with, these messages. So yeah, I think any Jonathan and Rosalie, I'm so glad that you're bringing, bringing it, giving another avenue for people to come and get, have at least a little bit of exposure to it. And Rosalie, on your comment, yes, I think it's wonderful that Baba used a woman as his vehicle for these messages. But I'm quite sure personally that that's not what Baba's, Baba did say, when I break my silence, something will happen, which has never happened before in all creation and will never happen again for billions and billions of years. And we haven't, I think it's kind of like, we ain't seen nothing yet, that hasn't actually, the profundity of that is beyond anything that has yet happened. But just even to prepare our gross little minds and hearts, especially hearts, I agree completely with what Rosalie said at the beginning, and I've said before that when I come to hear these messages, I turn off my discursive mind and listen with my heart. And the one thing I hear time and time again from different angles is the truth in all capitals. And Baba's offering it, not just on a silver plate, on a gold plate to us in these. So thanks for offering a new option of connecting with them.
Thank you, Judy, for engaging here. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about engaging. I remember, I mean, I read these messages to myself too. Why I love this is that Baba said, don't change a word. So I don't change the words. I read them to myself. So I thought, no one else is interfering with it. Just my ears, unless my ears are clogged. But other than that, no one else is interfering. And I think that's just such a freeing liberty. I just love it. The chance that we won't go towards a sort of a churchy, full of priests and imams and ministers. It'll just be really brotherly love like we're going into now. Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you, Judy.
Sure. Jonathan, one thing, if well, you're not going to find a time that everybody that wants to attend can attend whatever you offer. It's been unusual that I had this slot of time. Usually most Thursdays, if that's when you hold them at 3:00 Eastern time, I won't be able to attend.
I'm glad you were able to make it this time. Yeah, it's a question of when there's an opening in the Zoom.
Oh, right.
And the other thing is, we were kind of doing it to have people come in person, and we had several people, but it's an awkward time and weather-wise and whatnot. So we'll reflect on this first experience.
But
Thank you all for attending.
It did make me appreciate Zoom more because it was freezing cold walking in here. And then there were just a couple of people came, but it's an avenue that we all have this. We have the Zoom, and it's engaged. It takes a little learning. Boy, I didn't know you know, I don't know, or if I'd even have the patience to deal with it. Jonathan does, but I have patience in other other ways.
Thanks again, and sorry, but I need to go now. Jay,
Okay,
Mayor
thank you,
Baba.
Judy.
Jai Baba,
Jai Baba.
Judy.
Does anybody have any final comments, or we can?
The one comment I have,
Ralph?
Jonathan, is Thursdays, 3 o'clock is the sharing meeting at the center. So a lot of people actually go to that as well. So you might want to think about that as well.
Oh, is what did you say, was it 3 o'clock? Is
The
which
sharing meeting, yeah, is that's center at 3 o'clock.
What meeting is it?
Oh, the
It's a
question and answer?
sharing on Meher Center. Baba stories, Mandali stories.
Is that a
Oh,
birth?
Oh, yeah,
been
that
good.
happens. I thought that happened every day.
No,
when I
that's
go
on
there.
Thursdays for visitors, for us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did
But
you,
it's not a
Ralph, did you have
Thursday.
something you want to say?
Yes. I just wanted to express, like Judy was saying, where she, and so, and as you and Rosalie have also expressed, the value you found and the uh, enthusiasm of feeling that Baba was expressing, well, I don't know, there again, I'm at a loss, but I know it is to feel Baba. Sometimes we feel that we are feeling Baba in some regard. There are just those moments, usually when you're with people trying to remember Baba or during an inspired talk. The readings, Baba, I start, how does one, so meditating, I've never had much success with meditation. And Baba used to say, thought Baba just say, dive in, just dive right in. I thought, what is that? And I thought, like, what is dive in? I thought, well, we've got Hanuman who ripped his chest open. And to show Rama that he had Rama and Sita, and there was Rama and Sita there enthroned in his heart. And I thought, how do you find Baba? How do you talk to him? How do you perpetuate the strength to have Baba in tow and not go cuckoo, go off the deep, off track.
Mm.
And I was thinking in Norina's things, which now I've listened to a fair amount of Scott reading, and I can keep at times, so I may get absorbed in one point, and by the time then I've lost to what Scott's reading for a while. And I thought discussion would be good, but it also makes you struggle to try to, you've got to exercise the intellect. But because of the nature of it is the intellect, the focus, the attention is directed towards the person. I mean, the word me is used, the self. Which self? And then Baba is the self. And then there's the self that each and every individual has that they reflect on as themselves. I'm this, I'm not that, or I want to be this. And Baba as use. I found a lot of value in that was sort of a giveaway because I didn't have that perspective in such an intimate way that and I wanted to see how y'all felt that way, if you felt that what that part of it is also helpful. But it comes in many forms. It's also Malcolm Schloss's poem is kind of like, I thought last night I sang that song. One real friend, you and I are comrades, tried and fast and true. Glad am I to found him here and now in you. So finding Baba within as yourself, Norina was trying to keep her perspective on herself because she's expressing Baba purely through these talks.
Yeah.
That is a killer. And it did kill her over time, a long time.
Thanks, Rosie. Yeah, you know, that one of the things you're talking about, Rosie was saying about they were meant for the future, and the unique thing about what the time we are experiencing now is it's who do we look to now? We looked, of course, people looked to Baba when Baba was in the body, and then to the Mandali, and it seems that the time now is to look inward, to find, like you were saying of Hanuman, Rama, and Sita within us. And the intuitive, and that's an intuitive path, and it's a unique path to every individual. And it goes hand in hand with the life message and the life period of Baba, which was the last period of his life after Manonash. And where Baba gave us the freedom to make our own choices and depend on inner links rather than external links. And so however we would do it, you know, these messages are a useful aid, but Baba is stirring the intuition level of everything, of all humans in creation. Thank God we have the
He's
awareness.
creating the need to know, the need to find value, to find the truth within ourselves. So
Right.
He's
Yeah.
stirring, stir, S-T-I-R.
yeah,
We are stirred up.
yeah.
We're definitely stirred.
Well, that's one thing I have found. But then too, he does inspire us on the more creative and positive level, which is
Yeah.
the best. Yeah. But in relation to others, the world at large, if you're in that, for those in that position to be in contact with the world at large and need to communicate, that's a real challenge.
Communicate what?
To communicate.
That reminds me of one phrase.
That's a good. It's infinite to communicate. Period. Yeah, to communicate. I guess that is a good place to end the sentence, Rosalie.
What, to communicate deeper feelings, or what? What do you mean?
To communicate value.
Valuable things.
Okay, so people give their life. So Baba gave a talk in Madras, and he gave the same talk and same words. There's repeated in various places where Baba says, and I will have to paraphrase, and I still forget how the meaning, the core, the heart and soul of this thing. But he said to a group of students and teachers and public officials, and some of his lovers were also there at a school in Madras. And this principal had been asking Baba to come and talk for ages. And Baba was in the area and came on tour. Baba was on tour. And Baba said about reading and writing about education, the value of education. And we value education and things related to the intellect. And then he mentions culture. And that culture is not true culture unless it has spiritual foundation. And that and then he also stresses the point of using education as a means of trickery, or what's the word? Exploitation. So we know the word exploitation. So to explore, to exploit, that's usually can be a good thing in good sense. But to exploit with the purpose of the more selfish way, you know, to rob someone or to deceive, to exploit other person's ignorance or inattentiveness to protecting themselves or inability to protect themselves. And that education, he says, can be a tool to negative exploitation. It is a tool. And without culture, but culture has to be also is not anything in itself, but culture, we look out in our own country, culture in the South was hanging black people. Part of hanging black people was, you know, prejudice. That so that's not accepting God as the creator, that we're all one. And that principle, I mean, you go back to, so you see what I'm saying? That we need, so Baba gave us God Speaks, and we'd try ingrain it in ourselves, and the meaning of it. Yeah, I don't want to say more because, you know, you guys are just looking at me. Diane and
I,
Fresh
I've been
went
thinking
on Baba's picture.
It's,
you know, when,
it's the best look we could do.
you know, earlier when you were talking, and it was kind of like, you know, what do we do? You know, we're looking inward, but you know, I really think in this time that the thing is we still have our outward looking thing. We do things, we interact with people, but
Yeah.
by looking inward and the intuition being the language of the heart, we're
Yeah.
unfolding more and more of the heart. And there was one phrase, I think it was a walk with the master along the Ganges was where this was, but the phrase is love and sing in. So love
in.
and sing
Sing
in.
in,
It's
yeah.
looking in, love and sing in. Love life's use in praise, in
Yeah.
loving me, in all, in any. And when to the degree that we cultivate more and more our heart values and
Yeah.
put them out, you connect with people spontaneously on that level, and it transforms life.
Yeah.
I think that's the power of the intuition and love. Well,
Jonathan, just a quick comment on that, and Ralph. It seems to me like the chaos in the world all stems from lack of understanding, deep understanding of the purpose of life. And it seems like a real timely time to for Baba to manifest more and more through us, through whatever means he's gonna provide. Internet has been an amazing vehicle. Despite the rising darkness and chaos, there's also a tremendous amount of rising of consciousness. In many YouTube videos or Instagram, a lot of the young people are resonating with the truth. And so we just have to remember that these souls come here to get the newer souls come here to get a whiff of that avataric advent that happened on this planet. From 1969 to, 1894 to 69. And they're coming here, even though they come in with all these darker sanskaras, they're still here to benefit, to get a little bit of a benefit of his still existing on the planet. He said for 100 years, is it as if he's here? So we can just give him the benefit of the doubt that they're they're swimming in the same ocean as us, but they've got a few more baggage on their backs, and we just have to, in our own little ways, help lessen some of that baggage that they're carrying. And everybody's looking for one thing, whether they know it or not, and that's love and understanding and connection. So power, all of that stuff, power, money, position, fame, ain't gonna go with them. So anyway, just to keep in that perspective that it's a balancing act Baba's doing, and eventually it will turn into the new humanities time. And we're at that threshold of the very difficult dark years. So hang in there.
Okay.
I sort of feel this in this mystical language, like there is one of the articles that came through, the good and bad in mysticism. You don't get that anywhere else. I mean, to have both examined at the same time. I mean, and it's from a true, the source is truth. It's such an unbelievable gift when now I remember sitting in a lecture in Los Angeles 60 years ago, maybe now, at least 50, where the man said, Manly Palmer Hall, he said, if computerization isn't given moral direction, it will be worse than atom bombs going off. And I think we're at that point. If you've ever been scammed or, just can't stop it, it's pretty invasive and no concern for humans almost, The computer can be a wonderful source. We can see Avatar walk as he walked. No one has to tell us how he walked. That beautiful walk, I don't need a picture painted for me. I could just see it on film. I could whatever, get a cheap television and get on YouTube and see him. That's a great grace, Raising the consciousness of the
I haven't heard
masses.
him mentioned in ages, Rosalie.
What's that?
Manly Palmer
Palmer
Hall.
Hall, yeah.
I think Baba was aware of him and said he was on the fifth plane.
Fifth plane, yeah. And
Laura Delevingne had read him. That's where I first heard his name.
he wrote a book that I think it's an excellent book. Because it's sort of in line that Baba said we would lead the world spiritually in the Americas here. But first we will have to be awakened. And he speaks of someone predicting that democracy would flourish in the West where they keep Thursday. Honor Thursday, the day Thursday, as opposed to Sunday, Monday, any other day. Well, we sit right here and we honor Thursday. Once a year, we honor it.
I don't get it.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, oh, God.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
important. Thanksgiving. What could be more
Yeah,
important than
Okay,
be
thank you.
thankful?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's right in there. And I thought, wow, it was a famous seer in France a couple centuries ago came up with this, that it would be in the West where it would flourish. Now, I would say it's currently definitely tested, but if the Avatar says that we're going to lead the world spiritually, and he did say that, but first we will have to be awakened.
Excuse me, we've got another meeting we're.
Yeah.
And so we have to clear the way for them to come in.
Yeah, well, thank
Hey,
you all
Baba,
for
thank you.
coming
Thank
for
you.
the
Thank you,
discussion.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Jonathan and Rosalie,
Hey,
and
Baba.
Jonathan, thank you.
Diana, Thursday, thank you for coming to the rescue. It worked out.
No problem. Yes, I'm glad it worked out.
I
Hey,
think
Baba.
it inspires talk about life, not so much let's dissect these messages. No, that's not what it's about at all. But look at the inspiration it can bring, like freshness, just freshness. Even to discuss this at this point is difficult.
Yeah, it's an interesting consideration because we ended up, in our visioning of this, we thought we'd kind of do them like we do the messages with Scott and just read them and have the discussion before rather than after. We'll have to do some more thinking, and if you have any thoughts on that. But I think what Rosalie just mentioned, the discussions wasn't so much about the
It
reading.
isn't,
It's
it
important.
isn't.
It's important that the readings just be an inner reflective experience shared in a group verbally. And one of the reasons we just read them straight through was Baba emphasized the importance of the rhythm of the language. And so that's why we just went right straight through.
I
And
think it's correct. And of course, Cheryl Garnett, she got very discouraged because the lack of discussion during the reading, there was no discussion. Just
Well, she was discouraged from
now to
she
have
was in the very first meeting and she wanted to discuss,
yeah,
but the group decided, no, we won't discuss.
she was actually
She was
here.
there.
I'm going to have to check with her because she was here. We had a couple of people who were here in person. And I don't know whether she needed to go someplace, but I realized that we had some opening comments and we didn't really have an open discussion at the beginning. So, so I need to see that and tell her how the meeting went and whatnot. So we'll continue to work on it. So if you have any thoughts,
I
please share.
would say this, this is not an easy thing to even bring about, obviously, because it's been really undercover so long. So I don't pretend that I'm the answer, but I tell you, it's the answer for me. That's the important thing. And if anyone can feel more unlocked from themselves, and that's what I get from these. And it has to be the avatar, that only one time in 3 years or 4 years of these readings, when the reading was over, I just sat there and I went, I thought that this is a thought I had. And I thought, I don't think that I'm like a bunch of cells walking along. You know, I'm just myself. I thought every cell in my body was nourished. I only felt it once, but no one can tell me what I felt. I mean, it was like the proof is in the pudding kind of thing. It was, whoa. And it wasn't like anything I ever experienced. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thanks,
Jai Baba.
Jonathan, Rosalie, everybody. Gotta run.
Jai
See you
Baba.
next time, hopefully not on Thursday at 3, but Thursday morning, maybe.
And we'll look for another time. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope morning. That would be great.
Okay, very good.
Hey,
We'll-
Baba.
Jai
Take care.
Baba.
Bye.
Jai Baba, everyone.
Oh, by the way, Jonathan,
Yeah.
the last part of what you read was not in the document you sent. So, you know, that's why I stopped share.
Yeah, I had my computer was giving me, in the final throes of getting prepared, I think I lost that last
That's okay.
paragraph.
But
Okay.
they heard you, so that's what's important.
very
All right.
good.
Jai Baba, you guys take care.
Jai Baba.
Oh, who else came?
Clay, Nance, and Cheryl. There might have been one other person too.
I didn't know.
but,
All right. Very good. So you had an audience and
we
here
had-
too. Jai
We had,
Baba.
we had 5 or more, right? Okay, Jai Baba.
5 or more.
Yeah.
We're covered.